Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be covering a topic from Cambridge IGCSE Biology, the topic of features of organisms and subtopic cell structure. Now, in one of the previous videos, we've learned about the basic plant cell, the structures in a basic typical plant cell. So in this video, we're going to be focusing on the specialized plant cells. Now, what are specialized plant cells? Specialized plant cells are basically the plant cells that have a specific function to perform. So these plant cells have special adaptations, they have special structures to suit the particular function that they're about to perform. All right. So we're going to be discussing about three specialized cells under this topic. We're going to be talking about the root hair cells, which are found in the roots of plants, and the xylem vessels, which are part of the xylem tissue. And thirdly, we're going to be talking about the palisade mesophyll cells, which are found in leaves. So let's start with our first specialized plant cell, which are the root hair cells. Now, what are root hair cells and where exactly are they found? So to understand this, I'm just drawing a quick, simple diagram of a plant over here. Now, if you take a plant, we know that the roots of the plant that are usually found underground, these roots have to absorb water from the soil. And to absorb water, they have these specialized structures in their roots called the root hair. So basically, what we're first going to be learning about are the cells that give rise to these little root hair that extends out into the soil. So these cells are called the root hair cells, and the primary function of these root hair cells are to absorb water and mineral ions from the soil. So I'm just going to underline that. That's the main function of the root hair cells. Now, in order to perform this specific function of absorbing water and mineral ions, the root hair cells have a couple of unique adaptations that are shown by this cell. So firstly, the root hair cells have this extension, which is the root hair, that increases the surface area of the cell. So you see, by extending out, the surface area of the cell is increased, and this will ensure maximum absorption of water and mineral ions. So that's why it has extended out, to make sure that the maximum amount of water and mineral ions can be taken into the plant. Now, in addition to that, there are a couple of other adaptations as well. For example, if you take a look at the cell wall of these root hair cells, the cell walls of these cells are extremely thin. So the fact that these cell walls are extremely thin means that when water tries to enter into the plant, let's imagine water is trying to diffuse into the plants, these cells, the water has less of a distance to pass through in order to get into these root hair cells. That's why they have extremely thin cell walls, to ensure maximum water absorption. And the third adaptation shown by these specialized cells are that they don't have any chloroplasts in them. Now, these cells are found underground, and obviously these cells have their own specialized functions to perform. So there's actually no need of them to have any chloroplasts, because they're not going to take part in photosynthesis anyways. So these are the three unique adaptations shown by root hair cells. And next, we are moving to the next specialized cell, which are the xylem vessels. Now, xylem vessels are the cells that conduct water up the plant. So when the roots have absorbed water through the root hair cells, the water then transports up the plant through these specialized cells called the xylem vessels. Now, the xylem vessels are found in the xylem tissue of the root, as well as the xylem tissue of the stem, as well as the xylem tissue of the leaf. So the xylem vessels carry up this water from the roots, up the stems, and to every single leaf of the plant and every part of the plant. So what are the special adaptations of these xylem vessels to ensure that they can carry out their function effectively? Here are a few unique features shown by these cells. The first unique feature is that there is no top and bottom walls between the xylem vessels. So the walls of these xylem vessels are not continuous and it is absent at the end. So the end walls are absent. And this ensures that, okay, so let's imagine, I'm just going to make a drawing down here. Let's imagine this particular xylem vessel shown here stacks up on another xylem vessel, then that is going to ensure that there is a continuous column through which water can flow. So that's the first unique feature, the absence of the top and bottom walls. The xylem vessel doesn't have any end walls. And the second unique feature is that the xylem vessels, these cells, are dead cells without anything inside them. So these specialized cells are basically hollow inside. There's nothing inside it. There's no cytoplasm, there are no organelles. It's just a hollow, empty space inside these cells. And that ensures that there's a continuous column through which water can flow up these xylem vessels. So look at these unique adaptations. The first adaptation was that there was no top or bottom end walls. And the second adaptation is that the inside of the cell is completely hollow in order to make space for the water to be conducted up the plant. And in addition to that, there is also another unique feature of these cells. The walls of these cells have become thickened with a substance called lignin. So there's this substance called lignin which has deposited in the cell walls of these xylem vessels. And lignin helps to support the plant. So this is actually a secondary function of the xylem tissue to give support to the plant. And this is done by means of the lignin that has been deposited in the cell walls of these xylem vessels. So that's our second specialized plant cell. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. And here we have our third specialized plant cell, which is the palisade mesophyll cells. Now, where are these palisade mesophyll cells located? In which parts of the plant? These palisade mesophyll cells are located in the leaves of the plants. So if you take a leaf and if you actually take a cross section of a leaf and observe it under a microscope, you're going to be able to see these palisade mesophyll cells in the cross section of a leaf. Now let's take a look at this palisade mesophyll cell. The first thing you notice when you look at this cell is the fact that this cell has many chloroplasts packed inside the cell. So it has a lot of chloroplasts inside the cell, and we all know that chloroplasts' function is to carry out photosynthesis. So basically, this palisade mesophyll cell has adapted, and it has got so many chloroplasts present in it because its primary function is to carry out photosynthesis. So these cells which are found in the plant leaf help the leaf to carry out photosynthesis. Now, what are the adaptations shown by this palisade mesophyll cell? Number one, like I mentioned, it contains many chloroplasts for maximum photosynthesis. And another unique adaptation of this cell is the fact that this cell is column shaped. You see the shape of this cell is column shaped, and the fact that it is column shaped ensures that when sunlight falls on the leaf, you see sunlight is falling on the top surface of the leaf, right? So the fact that these cells are column shaped ensures that they can absorb the maximum light energy from the sun. And maximum absorption of sunlight obviously would result in maximum photosynthesis. So these are the adaptations shown by the palisade mesophyll cells. And with that, we've learned about the three specialized plant cells. So now let's take a look at a few questions from our question bank. All right, so here's our first question. The structure of a plant cell is displayed in the figure. Which of the following indicates the function of the specialized plant cell? So before jumping on to the function of this cell, we must first be able to identify this cell. And the moment we see this cell, we can understand that this is the diagram of a root hair cell. So we need to pick out the correct function of a root hair cell from these answers. We know that the function of the root hair cell is basically to absorb water and mineral ions. So let's see which answer we can choose. So the first answer is that it aids in ion absorption from the soil. And yes, that is correct. But let's also take a look at the other answers. The second answer states that it aids in transportation of the water. That is wrong because transportation of water is done by the xylem vessels. And the third answer states that it aids in the absorption of carbon dioxide from air, which is again wrong. And the fourth answer states that it aids in transportation of sucrose, which is again wrong. So the answer we have to choose is answer 1 over here. All right, let's take a look at another one question before we wrap up. What are the xylem vessels' purposes? Now, we've learned all about the xylem vessels, and we've learned that the xylem vessels basically have two functions. So the first function is, of course, to transport or conduct water. And the second function is also to provide support. So let's see which row is suitable, gives us the suitable answers. So the answer is conduction of water and support. So the answer where both of them are ticked is row C. So row C is our answer. Xylem vessels conduct water and minerals, and they also provide support. So that's what I'm choosing down here. So that's all for this video. I hope all of you got a good understanding on specialized plant cells. Stay tuned to our next video.
Subscribe us now for more videos and content.